Welcome to this talk. Welcome to PowerShell Conference. We're just getting started. I'm super excited to be back with you guys, back with the crew. It's going to be another talk about Bloodhound, because I already spoke about Bloodhound, but it's a brand new PowerShell module. So, classical, who am I? Some say I love the captain. That's Captain Jesus, one of the creator of Bloodhound. Some say I dream in graph. And here we have Andy, the other creator of Bloodhound. And others say I'm just a PowerShell bad boy. And this is a teaser for my talk tomorrow. If you want to know why, come to my talk tomorrow. I won't say more today. Sorry. So my Twitter handle is SadProcessor. I go online by the name of Walter Legowski. Born in France, living in Holland. Father of three, working in the US for Spectre Ops. I used to work for ERNW in Germany and for Falcon Force in Netherlands. I'm a big PowerShell fan, I guess. Not the only one here, but I'm a big PowerShell fan. Back in the days, I wrote this little dog whisperer handbook, which was kind of an unofficial guide to Bloodhound. And over all these years in those previous companies, I wrote CypherDog, Watchdog, ZipHound, Bloodhound Query Library, FalconHound, which were all tools to work with Bloodhound and PowerShell. The new Bloodhound came out with a change in the architecture, and all my tools were obsolete. That's the life of software. So I got depressed. And then I wrote a new module and I made it better. And this is what I'll be presenting today. So the agenda, maybe I ask, who is familiar with Bloodhound here? Or who knows it? Whoa, who uses it? Impressed. Awesome. Who uses a PowerShell module to go with it? CypherDog? Awesome. Well, there's a new one coming and it's way better. So hang on. I'll quickly start by explaining what is Bloodhound, just in case somebody in the room doesn't know, but I'll go pretty fast over this. You can watch talks from the previous PowerShell conference if you like. Then I'll explain the differences between the old and the new Bloodhound, what new features or what new stuff we can do with it. I explain quickly the REST API, how to authenticate to it, and then it's going to be demo. You can ask me, raise your hand anytime. We'll just stop for the question. I don't know if I'll have time at the end, but if I don't, you can catch me the whole week to talk about PowerShell and Bloodhound. Stop me when you have enough, basically. So Bloodhound 101. What is Bloodhound? Bloodhound basically draws the map of all the abusable relationship between objects in AD and in Entra ID. Should change my slide. So that's what we call an attack path. And not only does Bloodhound do it on-premise, but also now for Azure objects and relationship. When we talk about graphs or Bloodhound, we talk about node and edges. And nodes are your objects on the graph, and the edges are the relationship. So you might hear me say edge. Just wonder what that is. That's a relationship between two nodes, right, on the graph. The type of nodes, so I took a very basic example, but I think we're all aware of AD objects. So you have users, anybody with a user account. You have groups. Groups might have different permissions, and then you have computers. So that would be nodes, and the relationship could be a user is member of a group, and this group is admin to a computer. So I think that's the most basic, simple example of Bloodhound. Now this becomes an attack path the moment the other user is now logged onto that computer. And if I'm an admin to that computer, I can basically drop the creds from other user and impersonate him on the next step, right? So that's Bloodhound in a nutshell. It will draw you a graph, so that's just an example, but with all the edges and nodes, the graph can get quite complex, and we use Cypher which is the language of Neo4j, to query this database and draw a specific graph we're interested in, right? So node, edges, Cypher. Yeah. Maybe to be complete, I show you another slide that's not in my deck, but in some cheat sheets that I'm working on. Weird. The part I want to do, wait, how do I do? Zoom it up. Wait. Told us to duplicate the screen. I don't like this. So here on top, you will have all the different type of relationship you can have in AD only. So contains, has history, member of, GP-link. All of these are edges, so relationship that can be between two nodes and can be abused. And then if we just zoom out a bit, this is trying to summarize all the different type of edges we have and how they lead to possible abuse. So that would be for Azure, for on-prem, and we have the same for Azure, which gets even more complex. You do see a lot of new relationship, a lot of new different node type, and then at some point, those two graphs also connect, right? So it becomes a giant map of, I can go from here to here, from on-prem to the cloud, for example. Go back to my slides. Now, why do I love to... That's not my slide. You see, my slides are not that well done. This is a slide from John Lambert. Sorry, I forgot his full name. John Lambert from Microsoft. He gave a talk not too long ago at Blue Hat India, where he explains why the graph is for everybody. And so I'm not going to go too much into it, but you got the blue team, the red team. These are basically security, you call them. And then the interesting part is that here on top, he puts the architect and the software coder, which might be more appropriate for you guys. But knowing that we're all in this boat together, and that when you implement something in code or in the architecture of your AD or whatever, this has consequences on the graph. As much as we can come back to the architects and say, hey, that change made a mess. But it's also nice if we anticipate that. So if the graph is a centerpiece of us discussing architecture and security. Any questions on Bloodhound base? That was it for the base. If you have any other question on Bloodhound itself, you can catch me outside or now. Anything? No. Okay. So the old Bloodhound, a few of you said you were familiar to it, so this might make sense. In the old Bloodhound, you had the binaries, you install them, there's a Neo4j database in the back, and this gives you a nice UI to interact with the Neo4j database, and that was it, basically. Neo4j itself came with a REST API and a browser, so we could technically have a look in the Neo4j browser or build some automation and send Cypher to the REST API. And this is exactly where CypherDog, for those of you who are familiar, this is how it was sending Cypher. So in the old Bloodhound, the only thing you could do basically is send Cypher and get the reply back. The new Bloodhound looks exactly the same if you look at the graph, basically, but the whole architecture is different. It now lives in Docker, and it's composed of a Bloodhound image, a PostgreSQL image, and a Neo4j image. Bloodhound itself has its own REST API that covers all the application. And so when we build automation now, instead of talking to Neo4j, I talk to the Bloodhound REST API. And this offers a lot more possibility. I'll detail them. And that's, by the way, a Bloodhound operator is the name of the new module. I don't know if I said that, but that's where we're going to be sending our invoke web requests. Just as a side note, for now, you could still be using CypherDog. If you open the Neo4j part on your Bloodhound Community Edition, you could still send some queries that way. I would not recommend it, reason being, and since I now work for SpectreOps, I'm in the little secrets, the Neo4j database is being slowly deprecated. It will be completely removed. So don't build any tooling now that talks directly to the Neo4j database, otherwise it will become obsolete. For those of you who have made the effort to learn a bit of Cypher, even if we remove Neo4j, Cypher language will stay, and we're building a parser that will translate that to SQL statements. That's for the smart people in the company. That's not for me, but it's going to happen, so you can still talk Cypher to a PostgreSQL database, basically. I pause for the picture. I'll make sure I'll share the deck anyway, so you can get the slides. So in terms of feature comparison, when you make a new version of a software, you try to make it better. So that's why you see a lot of red for legacy and a lot of green on the side of Bloodhound community. We'll start with the easy install. Anyone who installed it in the past probably remembers the nightmare of having the proper JDK and the correct version of Neo4j community. And if that works, then you could install Bloodhound. It was all complex. Now you get a one-line command and it will spin up your whole, download the images, spin them up for you, you're ready to go. So super easy. Another new feature is user management. So now Bloodhound is a full application with different roles and users in the application. So you could distribute that to your team, having user, power user, admin, and I'll show you the rest. Way more secure authentication. I'll go into that when I show you the bit of code for the authenticating to the API. Custom Cypher queries, that was in both. So that's what you could do in the old one, was send custom Cypher queries. This is, of course, still possible in the new Bloodhound. One big automation missing point in the old one was I could not ingest data via the API. So if you collected data, and that's done with SharpHound or AzureHound in your view, yeah. Once you collect your data, you had to drag that zip onto the UI. So that was a human-only type of work. I did that for a while to then run my automation, but I had to drag the zip manually. Boring. You can now ingest the data via the API, so that gives you more freedom in terms of automation. Plus, like I said, you can tap into all the features of the API. Anything you would do in the new Bloodhound Community Edition UI is actually calling an API endpoint behind, and you can replicate that with your invoke REST method to get objects back. So it's fantastic. One last thing, if you needed to be convinced that you should move to the new Bloodhound, all the ADCS attack path have been added, and that's something that is heavily used by offensive teams since the certified pre-owned white paper from Harmjoy. He used to be at the PowerShell Conference a while ago presenting the Empire framework. He's been doing other nefarious things since, and ADCS white paper being one of them. I think everybody should read and understand if you haven't yet. It's quite eye-opening. Anyway, enough on ADCS. I won't go into that. This one is just, again, to hammer it. I know some people are still using the old Bloodhound. Ooh, go ahead. Ooh. People should use a new Bloodhound. Very good. So, REST API. Like I said, the whole new Bloodhound is centered around the REST API. The UI is built on top of it, so all the functionalities of the tool are exposed. It follows OpenAPI spec, has secure authentication. It's a shared structure between the community edition, so the free edition of the software, and the enterprise edition. If you're talking to Bloodhound community, you can hit roughly 140 endpoints, whereas if you're talking to enterprise, you have a bit more. I'll detail a bit later, but I won't make a commercial pitch on the enterprise version. You can catch me outside for that. And yeah, it's all explorable in the UI. I can show you that quickly. I have a Bloodhound here. So, wait, let me go back. So that's what the new Bloodhound looks like. You see it runs in your browser. And then if I go to API Explorer here, you will see all the different endpoints you can talk to, and you see there's actually quite a lot. All right. And I got it all covered. So you can do all this with your favorite PowerShell syntax. So I mentioned a bit earlier the roles and the permission. Which endpoint you will be allowed to talk to is determined by your role in the application. So I have here a quick overview, and I'll just highlight 2 new roles that I think are also super useful for automation. Is this read-only and upload-only roles. So this is like, in terms of security, if you wanted to do automation with Bloodhound before, maybe some guys were like, yeah, I'm not sure this can read a lot of data. I don't want to. Now you can say, hey, my automation that uploads data can only upload data. I cannot read anything else. So that kind of separation of role is always a good thing. And yeah, of course, some of the endpoints, so client collection and risk, are not available to community, but all the rest you should be. And of course, if you're the admin, you can do everything. Authentication. So the old Bloodhound or Neo4j used a basic auth. So in your request, that was kind of easy to figure it out. Now the application uses a token key, token ID, unique to the user you create. And each request must be signed with a HHH MAC token key operation, encoded with the timestamp, encoded with the body, to base 64, put in the signature as a header. So I can show you something. Maybe you can boo that also. Wait. Here, there's an example of how to do it with Python. I mean, come on, So when my first thing was, hey, we need to do that with PowerShell. So I can show you. See, in Python, it takes a lot of code. Whoa. Let's have a look at how PowerShell does that. Whoop. So that's what it takes here. I take the timestamp, put it in a specific format, super nice, with the .NET Accelerator. I take the bytes of the key. I take the bytes of the method and the URI. I take the bytes of the timestamp. I take the bytes of the body. And then I do a HHH MAC on top of that. That gives me a signature. And in my headers, I give the token ID, the signature, and the timestamp. And then with the timestamp, and since the application knows the rest, they can validate your signature and say, that's the guy who's talking, he's asking for what he's asking. So we're just preventing replay attacks where somebody would change the body, request it at a later date, or request another endpoint. That's how you do it. So the whole module, basically, my whole module wraps this signature and an invoke REST method to all the different endpoints. And that's basically a lot of tools that I've been building recently. When you talk to an API, that's how I do it. I just store somewhere in memory whatever connection string I need. And then I have one commandlet, my base commandlet. I show you that makes those calls. And then I write wrapper for the user around that to kind of make it a nice syntax. But you could do everything with the wrapper itself. So now if we look at the module, there's for now 60 commandlets, I believe, or a bit more than 60 for the community edition and a bit more than 80 for the enterprise edition. I did follow a full, fully approved verb noun syntax. I know. I have aliases all over the place, of course. So if you want to know a bit more about this, come tomorrow. I'll detail that. But yeah, somehow I made my mistakes in the past. I tried to be original. I used empire as a verb. That wasn't really awesome. So I got shouted at by Jeffrey Snover. But now, verb noun, and I add a little prefix here, so that makes it handy to find quickly your commandlet, so you can start typing get bh tab and see what you can get. That's what we all love about PowerShell, is the discoverability. So I will always use approved verbs just for the user. All application features are accessible. It allows for scripted deployment of the application. Scripted deployment, if you're a red team and you're deploying the infrastructure, you might want to create a Bloodhound, already have your users created in there with their single sign-on. Everything is included. And then mostly now it allows for full ingest, query, and analyze automation, which the missing link in the past was the ingest, so you could collect. You could not ingest automatically. You could then query and write some custom analysis over it. This is now all possible in the Bloodhound Community Edition with a bit, of course, of DIY, but that doesn't afraid you guys. I think it excites you. So that's cool. And then, I added some multiple session. I don't know if there's a real usage for it outside of us working on SpectreOps internally, where we might be testing 2 different versions. I want to run one query and have it over the old and the new version, see if I get the same result. So that's included in there if you want. Or it could be that maybe you're on a red team, a big engagement, and you split your data across different database. Could do, and you want to query it and say wherever it is, give it to me. So that would work as well. A bit of a disclaimer. I think my scripts are always like this. It's always a work in progress. So I will share it. It's an internal tool. You can use it. You're free to do what you want. Just for now, I'll share it as a gift. It's not on the repo yet because there's still too many things changing. So if you write automation now, know that things might break. That's the only downside. And if you have any question, I'll give you the link later, but you can ping me on the Bloodhound Slack and I'll be happy to assist you with the tool. The one thing, it's not an official SpectreOps tools yet. Maybe it will be one day, I don't know. For now, it's an internal tool that we're sharing, so we're not offering support for the enterprise customers on that tool. Of course, like I said, if you ask me a question on the Bloodhound Slack, I will happily support you with that. And then always use at your own risk. We're all big kids here, so we assume our mistakes. Demo time. Oops. Any questions so far? Any impressions? Any thoughts? Anything? No? Okay. So I've been I chickened out a bit of the demo, even though I did sacrifice a nano server. But I had written a demo to show you how to install it. These are the commands. I'm just not going to do it because the internet is flaky and I just don't want to take the risk of all my demo failing. Oops, let me see if I did that. Okay. Just forgot to reset it so that we don't have trash data. So I'm going to do a new Bloodhound session. So when I say BH, I change it for Bloodhound, but that's the name of the commandlet is BH. That shows some nice ASCII. Yeah. Always. Made it myself. And then once you did that, I created a new Bloodhound session. You guys are used to it. Maybe a get BH session would get me that object back. So this is the object that was created. And here, for those of you making tool, not necessarily Bloodhound, but around the API, that's my way of doing it. I create a new something session that stores everything I will need for the invoke REST method. So I don't have to put them again. They just come from that variable, basically. There's a get, there's a set, so you can set a few options on the session. You see here my timeout is 30 seconds. My limit for objects in Cypher query is 1000. I could change that. And the little last one, Cypher to clip. Just like in CypherDog, when I say Cypher at the end of a commandlet, it puts the matching Cypher in your clipboard so you can paste it directly in the graph. So I'm going to make those options if I ask for my session again. So there's a commandlet to get BH session, and it's not an alias yet, but you can skip the get in PowerShell. You will understand that's what you want. So you can say BH session, and you do see now that the changes have been taken in consideration. So we're good to go. We have a session. As long as I don't close my PowerShell, it's here. I can invoke other commands in the module. The moment you close your PowerShell session, everything is gone. So if you wanted to do it again, you have to create a new session again. Yeah. There's an endpoint to ask for all the API endpoints, so I put it in there. Get BH API will give you all the object and a Swagger type of objects, so we can make it cleaner with a bit of a select and sort. And you do see here, those are all the different routes available to the API if you wanted to build your own tools around it, or if you prefer Python. It's okay. You can still come to a PowerShell conference and prefer Python. It's okay. So the core commandlet is the invoke BH API. Then I give it a method, a URI. So those URIs are exactly the one you saw in here, right? You see all the list. So that's what you would be passing here. So if I say invoke BH API method get URI API v2 Bloodhound users, I should get my Bloodhound users. So when I say Bloodhound user, it's not AD user, right? That's a node type. So that's why I called it operator. You will see, I'll show you later. So in PowerShell, if you want to expand this, I have to do a select, expand data, select, expand users if I want to go 2 down, or you would do a ... notation on your... So I implemented that in code, actually. There's an alias here, invoke BH API, so it takes precedence over the get BH API if you don't say get, but you can basically say BH API, Bloodhound users, .data, .users, and that does exactly the same thing than the commandlet above it. So that's my lazy way of not wanting to dot into whatever comes back from the API. In my wrapper, I can use this dot notation, and you could go down as many levels as you want. He's just going to do it for you. The equivalent now in the wrapper, so that's BH API is the core commandlet. I have a commandlet called get BH operator, will do exactly that, and expand it to a default. If you wanted to expand to something else, you could probably do it, but the default would expand to what you need. And here, because there's a get, I can also say BH operator, and I get my user. So you can see there's only one user in the application for now. That's me. I'm the admin. And that's all I'll show for now. So, of course, I'll show you first, and then you can judge me. I wrote some help pages. They're minimal at the moment, so that's why I'm saying it still is a work in progress. But you can ask help for your commandlets, and that also contributes to discoverability. So if I have BH operator, I can get it. Maybe I can set it, help set BH operator, and that's why we love PowerShell. Even just in front of your screen, without anything else, you can start to explore because you understood the structure of the language. So you can start to explore anything, basically. And that's what I really like about it. There might be... Oops. So here I'm showing that I did put some examples in some of them. That's my favorite part of the help, is the examples, is what I always go for. If you show me an example, I can reverse it and understand. I don't need to read the whole man page. So my tip, if you're building tools, is do put examples. The users love it. Because I have a prefix, I can do that little discovery trick of asking for all the commandlets with the BH prefix. And I chose something BH that doesn't have anything in AD. I checked, so you're good in PowerShell. So that would get only my objects. But then to be sure, I added this BH help commandlet. And here it will give you a bit more, makes it look a bit nicer. So that's a commandlet I built on top of get command and get help and get alias to get you all in one place. And you have all the commandlets, their alias, the description, and the link to the example. So if you're lost, you just type BH help and you will see. And you do see that I did kind of went for it. But also because it wasn't possible before, now it is. There I am in my favorite editor. Let's go. And after a while, that's what you get. Okay. Yeah, let's try this one, even though my online might be flaky, but this should open up a little gist where I'll have all the command lists listed, so you can very quickly say, I'm talking about a server, I want the server config, I want to get it, and you would get examples here. There's nothing here, bhconfig, and then you can do back to top and you can navigate that very quickly. This is also, of course, not written by hand. I have a little script here that a bit disgusting, but it does the job. And every time I change something in my module, I can regenerate this, and that's done. So the documentation, that's also gorgeous about PowerShell, is that your help page is an object, and you can tap into it, and you can use it, and you can, so everything is an object. I love it. Up. So, I want to give a quick shout out to Jonas, who wrote something really cool about defining tier 0. We use that a lot in Bloodhound. So if you say Bloodhound help tier 0, he will get you all the list of what we consider tier 0 and should not basically be accessible from a regular user. And yeah, it gives you a way to identify it also. So that's quite cool. And if you really like this project and you want, I put the online switch to go to his tier 0 table. So nothing great, but I think if you take the time to add this to your tools, it also makes it comfortable that from my prompt I can grab everything that's related quickly and it's all here. So that's my little love for you guys. I took the time to add all this for you. Okay, users. So get Bloodhound operator will get you all the list. Bloodhound operator self will give you who you are. If I want to get the roles, I can say get Bloodhound operator role. I'm going to format table. You see that looks like what you saw on the slide. So I have my read-only, upload-only, user, power user, administrator. What's my role? I can do BH role self. I'm an administrator. If I want to see all the permissions for power user, I can say BH role where name equals power user, select expand permission. So that sounds like what I want to do. Same thing for, you do see the upload only has way less permissions for it. Are we okay? Everybody's safe? Nobody get injured during my talks. That's a rule. So if I want to create a user, I could take the role of a user. So user role is the role where the name equals user. And then I can say new Bloodhound operator name Alice and give it that role, for example. And then I say Alice is that operator. And if I call Alice here, we see the user Alice has been created in the application. You see it doesn't have a password yet, doesn't have SAML config, doesn't have a first name or a last name. Neither do I. Call me Walter. Sorry. Yeah. He interrupted me. I lost my thought. Oh, yeah, we're with Alice, and she doesn't have a password yet. So I'm going to say my demo password is demo password. And then I'm going to say Alice, set Bloodhound operator secret demo password. And I'm going to require reset and force that. So all the commandlets that make a change to your object will have an interactive prompt that say, hey, are you sure that you want to do this? And if you are, you can, and if you are automating or writing automation, you can use the dash force in there just to say, don't ask me anything, do it. Because of the pipeline and stuff like this, sometimes it's nice to be sure what you're doing before passing a whole whack over the pipeline. So I did that. And then I'm going to change her role and put her last name and first name just to show you what we can do. I'm going to disable it because you saw the password. Let's ask for Alice again. You do see now she has a password and all this is being created in the application. So that's how you can quickly create users. And then I'm going to, if I take out the force here, oops. So if I do that, it should ask me, you want to delete operator Alice? Yes. Okay. Done. And if I ask for Alice again, she should be gone. Gone. Good. Okay. I want to show you quickly the separation of roles. So I'm going to do the exact same thing, but this time for an upload only. I'm going to call it upload dog, and it's my upload only role. I get a API token. Do you want to generate a token? Yes. Took. Now you do see that secret. Oops. I don't know why I want to highlight it. My secret holds a secret. One little step I took on top is that you do see my the token ID is in plain text. My token key will be shown as a secure string. That's just for safety purposes. When you make the call at rest, it's stored as a secure string, so encrypted with your DP API, only your user can read this. Once we make the call, quickly I read the password. I make the call with the proper stuff. But it's just for me to be able to make demo. Anything that's a secret, I kind of so I put them as a secure string, and we don't see them. If we wanted to see them, here you see that I get a secure string, but I wrote a little read secure string commandlet to make it easier to read the string. Otherwise, you need 2 or 3 steps to do it. So if I do that, you see my secret key, so I'm revoking it. Look, do force up, so that's done. Showing you that you can revoke them quickly. I know you wouldn't get on my box so fast, but still. So I revoked the token, now I create a new one, and now I'm gonna log in with this new token. So up, I'm logged in. If I look at the sessions, you can see I have a second session here, noted with a little X. And then, same instant, but this time I'm upload dog and I have an upload only role in the application, yeah? So if I ask for me, who am I? I'm upload dog. What's my role? I'm upload only. And so if I try to ask for all the users, I get an authorize, right? Now, if I go back to my first session, you remember the little X? I put it back on the 1, and I ask for that where I'm the admin. That works. So this is your role separation in the API. Ingesting and collecting data. So collecting data I won't cover in this demo here, but if you do get BH data collector, it will get you the latest version that you should be using to match the version of the software. And there's also import BH data collector that would download them for you. The only thing, be careful with Defender. So create a folder exclusion before that. He doesn't like Sharphound for some reason. I don't know. Ingesting data is super easy. So here I'm going to get the zip object a la PowerShell. I'm just doing a get item, putting that into the variable zip, and then I'm doing invoke BH data upload data, and I'm passing it the zip object. And he's kind of looking into it, saying what there is. So it's a small data set, but that will work as well. And that's what he just imported in Bloodhound for me. This I wouldn't need to do it, but I'll just do it to be quicker. For this data to be counted, there needs to be a run of analysis, so I'm doing that. I just uploaded data so I can have a look at my upload data. Maybe once in a while I need to show you in the application how that looks. Oops. If I go here, administration, and file ingest, you do see that I just had an ingest and that it's ingesting the data at the moment, right? So that's the API call I made is being ingested at the moment. That's an experimental feature, but I kind of like it. When you collect and you have huge zip, sometimes he chokes on them, so I added a little split functionality in there. It does do the split without decompressing or deserializing the whole JSON. So it keeps it as JSON, but it just looks at that. Anyway, it just, to be quicker, I'm not opening all the JSON as object, because on a large data set that can be a pain point. But you do see here the same zip is imported in chunks of maximum 20 nodes. That's just quickly done here. What time am I supposed to be? 45 is the... And then questions, right?
You are already on questions.
I'm already on the questions here? Okay, yeah, I'm going to be super quick. Now we have data. I can have a look at the data that I ingested. I can list the domain in my data set. So all the domains for a single domain, I can ask for the data. I will get you domain state, the amount of users, the amount of groups, and so on, all the count, the amount of relationships. So we have all this data in our database. Oops. And here I could do platform AD. I don't have any Azure in there. But if I did Azure here, and you see, yeah, that would tab complete. Oops. Maybe not in VS Code. I don't know. But that would tab complete. Okay, searching for nodes. So there's this command list called search bh node. And then I say search bh node label user. So give me all the users you have in a database. That works. And I have a Star Wars theme database. And there's a lot of troopers, but there's also all the rest. They're quite cool. I can ask for a specific user. So here I'm asking for only Yoda. And yeah, I think you understood that I don't like to type all this stuff. So wherever I can, I put it positional, whatever, to just... There is this whole verbose syntax that we love reading and understanding, and there's the one we like typing, right? So that's the difference. If I say bh search user Yoda, I will get that little user. Now this returns only partial info. It's a quick check to the SQL database to return the node. If you want to return the real node and its property, you have to do get bh node, a command lit, and it has a search switch that will actually perform that quick search for you and push it into the next command lit. One thing that I like doing in the command line that you cannot do in the application is search for multiple users. That's not possible in the application. You do see actually I'm cheating. I'm making several calls, but that's okay. And I'm returning those two nodes. Whereas in Bloodhound, if you search for a node in the search bar, you can only find one. So if you wanted to compare nodes, command line is awesome for that. You can do it by ID, you can do it up, you can do it for multiple. I'm going to skip that. Let me do this one. That's a cool one. So if I look for Yoda, you do see here that for example, there are 7 controllers to Yoda. What we mean controllers is objects that have a control relationship onto that object. And then you would have controllables. Who can I control? Me as Yoda. And who can control me? So what I want to show you here is that those numbers here are actually expandable. So if I search for Yoda, I get this little stub. But if I search for Yoda and I list memberships, for example, you do see that, where is it? Group membership 7. So if I want to list that, I get immediately the list of the 7 groups. And if you want to see it as a path, to see potential nesting, you add the as path switch. And that will kind of give you the breakdown. So for example, let's look at 6. User Yoda is a member of group domain users. Domain user is a member of authenticated users, and authenticated user is a member of everyone. Can I do that? Yes. So that's how you see the nested membership as in the terminal, which is not easy. So that's how I broke it down. So every object is actually one hop, and they're grouped by ID to say which one belong to the same path, right? So once you get used to that, you can do quite a lot from the command line. I should be switching to questions, but I'm going to continue. Don't hate me for that. Here I would do the same, so I can skip that. We have this notion in the application. I'll show you that quickly. In Bloodhound, we have this notion of group management, and here the high-value group is your tier 0. So these ones are automatically marked high value from that little table I showed you earlier from Jonas. So we mark them as high value, but you could decide to add whatever to that group. We also have an owned group, And then via the API, you can create whatever group. So here, when I say a node group, it's not a group as in Bloodhound, but it's a grouping of node you consider. So we use it for tier 0. You could then implement a tier 1 if you want to break it down further, for example. So here, I'm going to say tier 0 is a node group where the name is admin tier 0, just to put it in a variable. And then I can take, check the members of that group. So that's the equivalent of what I just showed you in the application. Of course, here it's a small set, but you can have tens of domains in Bloodhound, and you could have all of them have their tier 0. So this list can get quite long. And for now, you'd see I have no custom members. So I'm going to say Chewbacca and Yoda are tier 0 custom member. I'm going to search for those two, Chewbacca and Yoda, and add them to tier 0 with the add bh node to node group and passing the node group ID of the tier 0 ID group. Same thing, you could add them, remove them, search them. I'm going to have to go fast about this. What I want to show you is the path, because those of you who are already using CipherDog will say, okay, how do I do what I used to do in CipherDog in this new one? You just use the bh path and then give it your query like so, and that will return the same format of objects. Oh, wait, I want to know here, up, no, I don't know why. But I say no. And that returns the same format with a source nodes, target node type of object. I'm going super fast over this because we're out of time. You can save your own queries in the application. So here I want to save a query called demo query. I just do that. And then you see that it's been saved in the application, so I could then call it and invoke it directly from the application. So those queries that you use often for audit that might have some specific domain names or whatever that we cannot write for you, but you can write them in the application and use them on demand. I'll skip on the enterprise feature because we're out of time and this is not a commercial pitch, but come and see me if you have questions on, clients and findings and the only thing, Bloodhound community will not give you an analysis, so you have to do that yourself. I'll skip on that. I'll skip on that. Okay. I guess that was it for my demo. Let me go back to the slides, see what we have left. Okay. So what's next for me? More dev. There's a whole engineering team working with Bloodhound now. It's not just Rohan and Andy making this on their spare time. Bloodhound became a real product, and so a lot of things are changing at a pace that I have to follow. So I'm still deving and bug fixing. I still want to write more help and documentation, format it as a proper module, maybe have it on the gallery. On your side, what I would like that some of you who maybe are used to CipherDog would download this, play with it, and give me some feedback via the Bloodhound Slack. If you're not on the Bloodhound Slack, this is the picture you want to take. You zoom on this. That's my only slide. Bloodhound Slack is a great place not only to talk Bloodhound, but anything security. There's a Kerberos channel, there's a, you name it, red team, blue team, detection. And a lot of the security community moved away from Twitter once Elon came in. So you can still find a lot of them. I think we're reaching 20,000 members, am I? So it's a huge community of... and everybody's super helpful. So if you have a question about anything security, you can go there. And yeah, questions, if any. I want to thank the PSConfU crew and the sponsors for this event. I just want to say hi to my kids.